sensation that can range from mild localized discomfort to agony. Pain has both physical and emotional components. The physical part of pain results from nerve stimulation because most of the patients present in outpatient or in emergency mostly with the abdominal pain. So if the patient comes in OPD or in emergency, we have to approach in a organized manner. So, so we have to ask the location where the pain is and how much the duration of the pain is, either it is acute or the chronic or the type of the pain. So we will discuss one by one. We divide the abdomen into 9 regions by 2 vertical lines and 2 horizontal lines. So by dividing the with these 2 vertical and with the horizontal lines into right and left hypochondria, right and left lumbar region, and right and left iliac fossa. And the center, the upper one is epigastric region, and in the central is the umbilical region, and the hypogastric region in the lower part. So by dividing these into 9 regions, we can see that because we know that the visceras are present in the right or left or the right or lower or in the left iliac region. So we know that which viscera or which organ is present in these areas. So by doing knowledge of this, we can say that this organ is involved. So the acute abdominal pain generally present for less than a couple of weeks, usually days or hours. So some patient present with the the pain acute onset with the chronicity. The patient may have pain for long time but worsened now with days or with a week. So we have to investigate or we have to rule out either the problem is surgical or non-surgical, because in there are several surgical problems which need immediate intervention. So by delaying the diagnosis, we may miss the diagnosis, and the intervention may be delayed, and which leads to the problem like morbidity, increase in morbidity and mortality. So there are 3 types of pain. One is the visceral pain, which is crampy, achy, which is diffuse and poorly localized, which is mainly due to the nerve involvement or due to the nerve supply to the visceras. The second one is the somatic pain, which is sharp, cutting, stabbing or well localized, which is mainly to involvement of the peritoneum and the musculoskeletal system. The third one is the referred pain, which is due to the involvement of the nerves, and which is referred pain is the distant from site of generation, because the like the cholecystitis pain, if it is in the right leg, right upper abdomen, right hypochondrium, but the referred pain is to the in between the blades of the shoulders. So the blades of the shoulder or the back region is normal, there is no pathology, but with the dual nerve supply or the double nerve supply, we same nerve supply, so the pain is referred to that area. So for the each and every patient, how we approach by taking the history, by taking the or doing the examination, general physical examination, and by doing some investigations, we can diagnose. So first is the history. So the most important part is the location, where is the site of the pain, quality, severity, how much the severe is the pain, either it is radiation, having radiation, or aggravating or relieving factors, or the associated symptoms like the vomiting, nausea, fever. So a good thorough medical history including sexual and menstrual history is important, and social history including alcohols, drugs, domestic abuse, stresses, traveling history is also an important. Family history is important for the to rule out the cancers like the and the inflammatory bowel disease, and the medication, patient having taken any medication or not. This is the like these are the questions we have to ask, like the site, visceral pain, onset, character. So pain Socrates. After history, we have to examine we have to take the vitals, blood pressure, pulse, respiratory rate, and temperature. And after vitals, we will see the sub-vitals like jaundice, anemia, clubbing, dehydration, edema. And after general physical examination, we will do the specific examination like the abdomen. We will inspect, we will palpate, we percuss, and we then auscultate. So after doing abdominal examination, we will do the digital rectal examination, pelvic examination, and genitourinary examination, and musculoskeletal examination. After history and clinical examination, there are some laboratory investigations like blood investigations. Blood CBC is the most important investigation, which tells us either the patient having infection or not. The TLC will be raised. Acute infection, in acute infection there will be TLC will be, leukocyte will be raised, and in chronic infections the lymphocytes will be raised. And we see that hemoglobin and the platelet count are normal or they are decreased. There are some viral condition in which the thrombocytopenia occurs, and by doing hemoglobin test we can see that the patient is anemic or not. And the electrolytes, blood urea nitrogen, and creatinine, by doing urea creatinine we can assess the kidney status and the coagulation profile. If we are suspecting that the patient having pancreatitis, so the amylase and lipase are the diagnostic tests for the pancreatitis. And if we are suspecting the gallbladder disease or the liver problem, so we will advise the LFTs. So if we are suspecting the kidney problem, we will advise the urine DR. Or if we are suspecting the acute appendicitis, so we will do the urine DR to rule out the urinary tract infections. If the patient is childbearing in age, so we will advise the beta HCG to rule out the pregnancy. And if we are suspecting the gastritis or peptic ulcer, so we will do the H. pylori serology or the stool test to rule out the gastritis. And if the patient having history of weight loss, and by doing fecal occult test we can rule out the bleeding PR. After blood investigations, we advise the radiology. In radiology, X-ray plain abdomen is the most important first investigation to rule out the intestinal obstruction and the hollow viscous perforation, in which we can see the gas under diaphragm. The ultrasound is the second most important investigation, which is non-invasive, by which we can diagnose the gallstones or the fluid in the free fluid in the peritoneal cavity, or the liver abscess and the pancreatitis. But the ultrasound is not specific for the pancreatitis. So if the patient is vitally stable, so we can advise the CT scan to diagnose the pancreatitis or the any malignancy in the abdominal cavity. If the LFT are deranged, so we can advise LFT is deranged and the alkaline phosphatase is gamma GT are raised, so and the patient is jaundiced, so we can do the MRI and MRCP to rule out the biliary pathology. If we are suspecting the upper GI problem, we can do the upper GI endoscopy. And if the patient having weight loss and bleeding PR history, so we can do the colonoscopy to rule out the colonic pathology. If the patient having the obstetric jaundice, or there is a ultrasound or the MRCP is showing that the stone in the CBD, so we can do the ERCP. So the ERCP having two roles, one is the diagnostic and one is the therapeutic. We can diagnose the strictures in the CBD or the stone or the cholangiocarcinoma. So we can do the stenting with the help of the ERCP and sphincterotomies. So if the patient comes with acute abdomen, so we have to investigate and diagnose the acute surgical problem. So the surgeons are involved in these cases early, so that we can treat early, so to prevent the morbidity and mortality. The surgical abdomen are very bad, having very usually they are having bad presentation. They present with fevers, tachycardia, hypotension, tender abdomen, and if there is a peritonitis, the patient present with rigid abdomen, rigidity is there. But if the patient is in old age, with the advanced age, the rigidity may not be present. So if the patient is immunocompromised, so the presentation will be different. So in peritonitis, there is hollow viscous perforation, or if there is a liver abscess which has ruptured and pus is trickling into the abdominal cavity, peritoneal cavity, or if there is a severe bleeding, so we have to diagnose and we have to treat. If we treat in time, so the morbidity and mortality will be decreased. So we will do the baseline investigations. We will do the X-ray plain abdomen. If the patient is stable, we can do the CT scan to diagnose. But if the patient is not in stable condition, patient is in serious condition, so we cannot wait for the CT scan, so we may proceed for surgical intervention. So region wise, we can say that in epigastric region there are several conditions or several gastric and the esophageal problems are there. Abdominal aortic aneurysm and pancreas, pancreatitis, pancreatic pain, and the gallbladder and the common bile duct obstruction are there. So right hypochondrial pain present with cholecystitis, hepatitis, perforated DU, and the non-surgical problems like herpes zoster and myocardial ischemia due to the referred pain. So the left upper quadrant pain may present as acute pancreatitis, gastric ulcer, gastritis, and right lower quadrant pain, left lower quadrant pain, and periumbilical pain. Like in appendicitis, the pain starts around the umbilicus because the appendix is basically mid central, starts in the pain in the around the umbilicus and then shift to the right leg fossa. Sometimes the patient presents with generalized peritonitis due to the hollow viscous perforation or dissecting aortic aneurysm or the ruptured aortic aneurysm or the intestinal obstruction. So there is a diffuse abdominal pain, generalized abdominal pain. Sometimes the patient having pneumonias, so pneumonitis, and the patient present upper abdominal pain, or if there is a myocardial infarction, patient may present with the epigastric pain. So there are some differential diagnoses in the upper abdominal pain, the gallbladder, stomach problems, that they may be acute and chronic, or the pancreatic problems like acute and chronic pancreatitis, and the aorta is there, so dissecting aortic aneurysm may present with central abdominal, upper abdominal pain. So this is the differential diagnosis. So we will deal or discuss one by one these cases. So inflammation of the gallbladder is called the cholecystitis, which may result from the obstruction of the cystic duct by a large stone, gallbladder stone. The pain is mostly colicky in nature, which progress to in a constant pain in the right hypochondrium, right upper quadrant, that may radiate to right scapula. This is due to the radiation because same nerve supply, and on examination the upper abdomen is maybe tender or the gallbladder may be palpable. So we will do the baseline investigations. In baseline, the CBC, blood CBC and LFTs, and to rule out the pancreatitis, which has come into the differential diagnosis. The serum amylase and the lipase are routinely done when there is the upper abdominal pain. So we will do the upper abdominal X-ray, plain abdomen, to rule out the gastric perforation. And there are 10% of cases in which the gallbladder stones may be visible, which are radio opaque, and the diagnostic ultrasound is the accurate in 95% of patients. If there is acute cholecystitis, the first is the admission, and then after conservative treatment we will do the operation, laparoscopic or open cholecystectomy. Second is the pancreatitis, which may be acute and chronic pancreatitis. There are several causes of pancreatitis, but mostly there is a history of cholelithiasis or ethanol abuse or alcohol abuse. The patient present mostly in the upper abdominal pain, which relieved by bending, and pain radiate through to the back, and patient may have nausea and vomiting and perspiration. On examination, patient looks ill, lying on the bed, abdominal distension. Patient may have diffusely rebound tenderness positive, and there is muscle rigidity in the upper abdomen mostly. We will do the lab investigation like blood CBC, ultrasound, but the serum lipase and amylase are the diagnostic investigation, and the admission, the management is the admission by doing some investigations, and we start the medication. We keep the patient NPO, we start IV fluids, and we will start the painkillers. In mild and moderate cases, the antibiotics are not indicated, but in severe cases, in pancreatitis, the antibiotics are started. Then we will do the CT scan to see the pathology, what is the cause of the pancreatitis. The peptic ulcer perforation is third most life-threatening complication of peptic ulcer disease, more common with duodenal than gastric ulcers. The predisposing factors are Helicobacter pylori infections and drugs like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. The patient may have hypersecretory states like the gastrinomas, Zollinger-Ellison syndrome. The patient may mostly present with sudden onset of severe intense pain in the epigastric region, which radiates in the whole abdomen, and the patient having severe pain worsening with empty stomach, and physical findings on epigastric tenderness, there will be rebound tenderness, and there will be abdominal rigidity, muscle rigidity. And diagnostic investigations are one, and the diagnostic investigation is the X-ray abdomen in erect posture, which shows the free gas under the diaphragm. So the patient is referred to surgical emergency, and in the treatment mostly is the surgery. In small bowel obstruction, abdomen, the patient present with distension, which decrease in absorption and increase secretion, leading to further distension and fluid and electrolyte imbalance. The patient presents with crampy abdominal pain, usually in the umbilical area or in the epigastrium. Vomiting occurs early with small bowel and late with the large bowel. And on examination, the patient is hyperactive, high-pitched bowel sounds, fecal mass may be palpable, and upper abdominal distension, but on DRE the rectum will be empty. We will do the blood investigations, blood CBC, serum amylase, stool for occult blood, blood for cross matching, and abdominal X-rays, which will show the air fluid levels, and patient need admission. And after diagnosing the cause of the obstruction, the patient may need surgery or the conservative treatment. Ruptured aortic aneurysm is a surgical emergency. there is abnormal dilatation of the abdominal aorta, forming aneurysm that may rupture and cause severe abdominal pain, and which is spread in the hemoperitoneum, more frequent in elderly, and patients may present mostly with the severe pain which felt in the chest or abdomen and radiate to the legs and the back. Patient appears in shock. Vasospasm reflects impending shock. Deficits or differences in the femoral pulses will be present, and but if the patient is in severe shock, the CT and MRI is. If the patient is in a stable condition, we can advise the CT and MRI. But if the patient is not stable, we do the ultrasound, Doppler ultrasound to diagnose, and the patient needs surgical emergency. There are some chronic abdominal pains syndromes with the irritable bowel syndrome, chronic pancreatitis, diverticulitis and diverticulosis, gastroesophageal reflux disease, renal and gastric ulcer. Chronic pancreatitis, the main cause is the alcohol, and patient present with malnutrition. Patient age may be more than 40 years with pancreatic dysfunction, and we had to rule out the pancreatic cancer. But if the patient having cystic fibrosis, so the patient present early within 20s or 30 years of age, and these patients die, 50% of these patients die with pancreatitis in 25 years of age, in 25 years of diagnosis. In pancreatitis, the chronic pancreatitis, pain may be absent or severe, which may be recurrent or constant, usually abdominal, sometimes referred upper back or anterior chest and flank. There is history of weight loss, diarrhea or oily stools. Abdominal distension less reported in chronic pancreatitis. So the blood CBC, amylase and lipase, LFTs, serum glucose, that may be raised because in pancreatitis the patient may develop the diabetes mellitus, and alkaline phosphatase may be raised, but the diagnostic test is the fecal elastase and the CT scan. Management is the conservative, or patient may need surgery if in medical management we have to treat the pancreatic dysfunction, we have to treat the diabetes, we have to treat the steatorrhea and diarrhea, and we have to replace the pancreatic enzymes. And sometimes the patient with pancreatitis, chronic pancreatitis, may need surgery. The gastroesophageal reflux disease, the gastric contents from the stomach to esophagus and may produce signs and symptoms with esophagus, pharynx, larynx and respiratory tract. This is the most prevalent condition affecting GI tract. About 50% of adults use antacids. The symptoms are the heartburn, most common. There is a burning, severe pain in the mid-epigastric which worsens by bending, and there is a water brush, and occurs after eating, may be relieved with antacids. There may be dysphagia or rhodinophagia, and which is predictive of the severe disease. There may be chest pain, which may present as acute or angina. So there are some foods which can precipitate the pancreatitis, chronic pancreatitis pains. So high fat or sugar, chocolate, coffee, onions, citrus, tomato paste, spicy, and cigarette smoking and alcohol, aspirin, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and potassium pills. So these are some foods and the medicine which increase the pancreatitis pain, the gastroesophageal reflux problem. Um, the diagnosis mostly on the history and the investigations. So we have to investigate by doing the baseline investigation and H. pylori antibodies and barium swallow. But the most diagnostic test is the 24-hour pH monitoring. So mostly we advise the patient to change the lifestyle, stop smoking, reduce alcohol or stop the alcohol consumption, reduce dietary fat, decrease meal size, and weight reduction, elevate the head of the bed 6 inches. So this only one method reduces the 50% of the symptomatic relief to the patient. So elimination of the medications that are mucosal irritant or that lower esophageal pressure, avoidance of the chocolate, peppermint, coffee, tea, cola, beverage, and avoidance of the supine position or bending forward, and we have to take light meals, smaller meals, and avoid tight fitting clothes. There is some medication which is effective for the long term use, H2 blockers and the omeprazole. These are effective medication. And proton pump inhibitor is used, and which we had to continue to to prevent the relapse. There is a high relapse rate, more than 50% within 2 months and 82% within 6 months. And if the patient not really or with the conservative treatment, the patient may need surgical intervention. The duodenal ulcers, there is incidence increasing, secondly to increasing use of the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medicines and H. pylori infections. Mostly it is imbalance both in amount of acid pepsin secretion and delivered from the stomach to the duodenum, and ability of the lining to protect. There are several risk factors. One is the most common is the stress, cigarette smoking, COPD, alcohol, and chronic use of salicylic acid and the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medications. There are several genetic factors like the Zollinger-Ellison syndrome, in which there is an increased release of gastrin due to the gastrinoma, and there is first degree relatives with the disease or the patient with blood group O, and there is elevated levels of the pepsinogen 1 and HLA-B5 antigen. About 16 million individuals will have acid peptic disease during lifetime, more common than gastric ulcers. Peak incidence is at the 5th decade, but the duodenal ulcers mostly 90% is caused by the H. pylori organism. So mostly the epigastric pain, which is sharp, relieved by antacid and food. So the investigation is the serum or the stool H. pylori antigen and antibodies and the occult blood in the stool. We have to treat with if the patient is H. pylori positive, we have to do the eradication therapy, and we have to continue as a maintenance dose proton pump inhibitors. Gastric ulcers are like mostly with the use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, and the H. pylori organism are the main causative agents, but in the patients may have the malignancy. Risk factors are the caffeine, coffee, alcohol, smoking, and the first degree relatives with gastric ulcer. Pain is similar to the duodenal ulcer. Location is the right or the left upper abdomen. Bloating, belching, nausea. Investigations are the serum for H. pylori and carbon level breath test, stool for occult blood, and endoscopy. So in this, the eradication therapy, we have to give the eradication therapy to eradicate the H. pylori organism, and if due to the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medication, we have to stop. Thank you so much.